Today I actually wanted to do a video about one of the authors of my favorite novel, which is Notre-Dame de Paris. So today we are going to talk a little bit about Victor Hugo, about his life and who he was as a person. I'm just going to keep it brief and short and get into the facts. So the reason why I always use a French title instead of the English The Hunchback of Notre Dame when talking about the book is because Victor Hugo wasn't really fond of the English translated title The Hunchback of Notre Dame. Everyone who has read the book will probably understand why, because the title really suggests that the hunchback is the main character of the book, which isn't the case. So I completely understand why Victor thought that the novel would create different expectations from the readers. To be honest, the title should actually be the Archdeacon of Notre Dame, because he is the actual person where the book is mainly about, because we follow his perspective. But I do not want to go into detail about Notre-Dame de Paris. So yeah, let's dive into the life of Victor Hugo. First of all, the biography that I've read is this one by Graham Robb. It was quite interesting. So if you are interested in finding out more, you can always check out this book. Okay, so I've highlighted some parts in this biography which I actually want to read to you guys. So when he died in 85, the people who followed the route from Arc de Triomphe to Pantheon outnumbered the population in Paris. He was very loved. He was buried in the Pantheon. He shares a crypt with Alexandre Dumas and Émile Zola. I actually visited the Pantheon this year to visit Victor Hugo, and it was actually really nice to see the place, and the Pantheon is a really beautiful place, so I highly recommend when you visit Paris to check it out. Also, one of the things that I highlighted was a quote. It explains the way that Victor Hugo decided if he wanted to read a book or not, and I thought it was very interesting. I take a book, let's say La Petite Fadette by Madame Sand. I open it at any page, and if nothing grabs my attention, I open it a second time at random. If it still says nothing to me, I open it a third time, again at random. If the page contains no trace of any thought or idea, I close the book and deem it bad. Another thing that I highlighted was Victor Hugo's writing routine, because I'm a writer myself, and it's always interesting to dive into rituals of other authors. He started his day with a freshly brewed coffee and a daily letter to her beloved Christ from Juju. So he started the day with caffeine and compliments. He ate 2 raw eggs, and then he wrote until 11 o'clock. Then he stepped into a cold bath. He was prone to colds and cramps. And then while he was in the bath, people were gathering downstairs, and these were like visitors on certain days. He had visitors on certain days. Hugo welcomed almost everyone in the salon, and there were journalists and just people who admired him. And then at 12, he would dress himself as a well-dressed farmer and conduct his guests to the dining room. So he went to the dining room and had lunch. After lunch, which is super weird, he would immediately rush out of the house and jump off a cliff. I'm not kidding you. So he would rush out and he would strip naked and he would actually jump off a cliff. On most days, he also took a carriage ride with Juliette, his lover. And then there was also a daily visit to the barber. In the evenings, he would dress up, he would use rose vinegar, put on his blue tie, and then turn up with the rest of the gang for dinner. Then they played cards until 10 o'clock. Victor Hugo he believed in God, but he struggled with the church. One of the reasons he had a difficult relationship with the church was because on one side, he didn't agree with how they treated the poor, and on the other hand, his books were often found on the banned list of the church. He struggled so hard with the church that he actually, one of his sons died, he actually said that he didn't want a priest and he didn't want a crucifix on the funeral. So, and he also said the same for himself, though he truly believed in God. All of his children died before Victor Hugo died. His oldest daughter actually drowned in the Seine. So yeah, that must have been pretty hard. Her husband died with her because he was trying to save her, but they both couldn't swim, so they died. Two of his friends were famous composers, Franz Liszt and Berlioz. Victor died from pneumonia on the age of 83, and he died in 1885. The last words he had written on paper were, "To love is to act." His death evoked a general national mourning, not only because he was a celebrated author, but also because he was fighting for democracy in France. All his life, he remained a defender of liberty, democracy, equality. Victor also made drawings. He actually made 4,000 drawings, but he kept them a secret only for his family because he was kind of afraid that his drawings would overshadow his literary career. One more thing I want to say about my favorite book is that Victor Hugo actually wrote Notre-Dame de Paris because the Notre-Dame Cathedral was being neglected and was dying. And so he wanted to draw attention to the cathedral so that people would renovate it. And he actually succeeded because his novel was such a great success. And people again started to visit the cathedral. I hope you found this an interesting video. As I said before, I will do a separate video on things to know before reading Notre-Dame de Paris, which I'm actually excited to record. I will also be doing a Victor Hugo book collection because I've been collecting so many books of his over the past few years, also very old ones. So I am very excited to be sharing that with you too. That was it. See you soon.